don't make us who we are. So I'll dream until I make it real, and all I see is...
You have got to be kidding me. Are you seeing this?
Again.
Are
Oh
you
my.
seeing what's happening?
And it's like kind of I don't know, doing like this green thing. Like,
Okay,
yes.
this
What in
happened.
the world?
Okay, there's something going on because this happened when I was doing a channeling this week. And Fred, if you're watching, that we had there. Hi guys, we had a group of ETs present doing a channeling, and the whole Zoom. Okay, there was 3 of us on there, and the whole Zoom, the boxes started flashing green and doing all the, it was crazy. And both of the 2 other people, it was a woman that's in Paris and her friend who is also a healer in Paris, and she does light language and sessions with ETs. She wanted to get some validation and have some questions answered about the ETs and the ones that she works with. Long story short, that was crazy what was going on with the energy. So, hi guys, welcome to Mentorship Mondays with Michelle and Maren. And like usual, it
I think we need to
freezes.
change our intro to that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just gonna sing. Next time I'm gonna come on with, like, like the frog, not Kermit the Frog, that other one from like WB. Was it that one? Do you know what I'm talking
I don't
about?
know.
No, maybe I'm too old for you. Like the like frog with the hat
Oh,
and
and the
like the
cane
stick,
and
and he's
the
like da
dancing
da
cane.
da da da
Yeah.
da 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 da. Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, welcome back. So today we've got all of these beautiful, all the people that entered for the Akashic reading, and so we're going to draw that at the end. So we've got it all here. And then we're going to give you a little brief instruction for the person that wins. And so thank you guys for subscribing and for liking and commenting and all of that stuff. We had lots of people, so it's really exciting. And it really opened up some conversation with Maren and I, because we were talking a little bit about past lives. And I know everybody's got different ways of describing it, because in truth, okay, uh, we understand our past lives, our future lives as linear, like the past, the present, and the future. But the way that it's always been explained to me through Eric and other spirits has been that they exist all at the same time. They're all occurring at the same time. But for us to understand that, for us to experience it in a linear form, it's easiest for us to say past, present, future, but they really do exist all at the same time. And so I know
That's just, yeah.
it's hard to wrap our heads around, because we're like, how exactly does that happen? But we also have to understand that our soul and our higher self, it's like the hub of a wheel, and the wheel is always turning. So if you imagine that your oversoul or your higher self is like the center of the wheel, and all the spokes are the different lifetimes, and that wheel is consistently turning. There's a piece of us, a fractal of us, that is in existence, that is still us, but it's like you, Maren, this piece of you that is here. There is a higher piece of you that exists in spirit, but also another piece of you that is still you, that exists in another lifetime, and other lifetimes, and other lifetimes, and other planets, and other universes. So it can get quite deep. And my recommendation that I always, when I talk about this, is, be comfortable where you're at in your understanding. Don't try to sort it all out and figure it all out, because it is complex. And even explaining it, like as I'm explaining, I see a lot of visuals in my head when I talk about it. And sometimes I forget that maybe my words aren't exactly matching up with the visuals that I have. So I have to be really careful. I try to break it down the best that I can. But Eric says that everything stacks up. So energy stacks. Our dimensions stack. Like, it's not, nothing is linear. Linear is what we experience on Earth. Is our experience here is to have like the morning, the noon, and the night, to have these ways of walking through time. But even when we think about time, time is really not existent past the earth. And so time is a structure that was made for us to have this individual experience, for us to be able to have that creation. So in spirit, manifestation and creation is something that occurs immediately. We can create immediately. We can be immediately. As soon as there is something to produce, as soon as there is something to do, it is done. And in spirit, or sorry, in physical form, so here on earth, when we have a thought, everything starts with a thought, but there's that process of creation. So we start with a thought. We start with the intention, the actions, all the things that we go through. And that's part of our joy of being here on the earth, is to go through that experience. It's like getting your hands dirty. It's like getting into the earth and, digging up the garden and all of that tactile experience. And a lot of spirits will talk about when they come through and speak to their loved ones and talk about what they miss about earth. They'll often say it's the smells of the earth, it's the experience, it's the seeing the sunrise in those ways. And it's not that they can't experience that in spirit, but in our physical form, it's different. So it's a different experience. But when it comes to past lives, something that I know with healing work, we'll talk about past life bleed throughs. Like, what's a past life bleed through? Well, past life bleed through is something that's happening in another lifetime that's affecting you in this lifetime. It doesn't have to be something that's negative. It doesn't have to be something that is a problem. Rather, it can be a talent. It could be something that, in another lifetime, you may have been an opera singer, and in this lifetime, you're a musician of some sort. So there's some sort of connection. But usually when we say past life bleed throughs, we do mean something that is affecting you in this life. And most times people are looking for, why do I have this problem? Or why do I have this pattern or this situation? And so we use the ability to go into a past life, whether it's done through hypnosis or a practitioner that does past lives, or doing your own meditation, your own investigation, because there's so many different ways that you can go into your past lives. So one experience that I'm just thinking of right now is I have a daughter that is always had a problem with spiders. And she was deathly afraid of spiders. She still isn't very fond of them, but it's not as bad as what it used to be. And so this was maybe a couple of years ago. So we did a little investigation into her past life to figure out what it was with the spiders, that like just the sight of them just created such panic for her. And what we had found was she was in a lifetime where she had been she was being punished for something, and I can't remember what it was right now, but she was actually in some sort of I want to say medieval or dark looking cell. She was tied up and there were spiders everywhere. They were running all over her body and she couldn't do anything about it. She was chained. And it was something just that clear that she was exposed to over long periods of time, and she was terrified. And what she had experienced in that lifetime had imprinted. So we have a cellular structure. Some people will call it the blueprint, and we can look at the blueprint as our overall experience, but also there's that cellular imprint within our structure, in our auric field, that carries through in a lifetime. Now, sometimes it can carry through because there's let's say a strong vibration to it, and that might be because there's an importance to healing something in this lifetime. So we may be coming in and saying, oh, and by the way, and I'm just putting terms in spirit, oh, by the way, I'm going to go into this lifetime and this has been an issue for me. So I'm going to challenge myself in this lifetime to be able to release it. But it could also come in as something that's just part of the structure. So it, on one level or another in spirit, we may have made this choice to say, yes, I'm going to heal it, but it's something that can become triggered. So it may not show itself in our life until we go through a certain event. And this could be, the fear of heights. This could be even right down to some physical ailments that we have. There's been many times where somebody has either a mole on their body or might have a certain pain on the arm, and they may have experienced a gunshot wound in another lifetime. But here's really the cool part. Here's the amazing part. Because nothing truly exists in the linear form, we can actually travel to our future lives and to our past lives, and we can face these situations. We can work with them. We can speak to people. Not only can we do that in our past lives, but we can also do that in this lifetime and go back to different times in this current lifetime and speak to people. I've done a lot of work with people where we go back to their childhood and we go to, say, trauma, a situation that may have been painful as a child or didn't clearly understand. We'll have souls that have already crossed. So, for example, mother and child, the mother has crossed and the child is here doing healing work, and they're an adult now. They couldn't understand why their mother did X, Y, or Z in their life when they were a child. The mother's not physically here to have that healing work. But so in this type of situation, we're able to go back to that time with the help of that spirit of the mother, go back to that time and then explain what was going on, why she did what she did. And from the spiritual perspective, from that greater perspective, to say, I did this because, or this was what was going on in my mind at the time. And then to have the opportunity to change the perspective of it so that that person, that child, can then let go, can then work into more of a healing rather than holding on to the pain. So there's a benefit of being able to travel into another time, because time's not linear. This is energetic. So our intention of doing so changes the structure around these experiences, and it allows healing. So we could do the same thing. For example, let's go into a past life and let's speak to, say, somebody that we may have had an experience with that was, for some reason, I want to go back to Egypt, and I'm going back to Egypt, and I know that I was harmed or I harmed somebody in Egypt. Well, I'm going to go back and I'm going to change that scenario. So I've got the knowledge from my meditation, from working with a practitioner, from however I got that information. I'm going to go back into that lifetime and I'm going to rewrite it. And by rewriting that, it then has an effect through all other lifetimes. And that's a belief.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool. So that's what I was going to ask you. So my main question was a while back was like, well, how do you heal from this? That you're saying you go to that specific moment and you change your perception of the events of that moment. Like that's all it is just changing your, like,
well, it's
identifying there's an issue.
It's one piece of
Okay.
it. So it depends on the person and on the situation, because for one person, let's say, for them, it was like, for this particular one that I'm speaking about with mother and child, it was that connection. Let's see what's going on here. Isn't that interesting? Well. Energy, hello. But for that one person, it was that moment of being able to have their parent apologize and explain. So it's more of the awareness
Oh,
about
okay.
them to change. For somebody else, it may be that they have difficulty visualizing on their own. So it might be more helpful for them to use a healer, or they're all tools, right? So to be able to have a healer walk them through into that time and to work through
Yeah.
it. A lot of times it's a combination of the awareness, the change of perception. If we have the opportunity to know what it is that's occurred, if we've got the awareness of it, we can then change the perception of it by choosing to look at it differently, or by, um, you know how you've heard, you can go back and you can speak to other people, you can speak to somebody's higher self, you can work through issues with speaking to someone's higher self when maybe in this lifetime it's not conducive to speak personally to them for one reason or another, which is another way that we can work through healing, because it changes the energy of it. Now, there's another component to it. If you, again, it depends on what the situation is. It depends on how heavy the vibration is, how much a person has been suffering from the situation. Changing the acceptance and changing the energy and the perception may work for some people, where that's all they need and they feel free from it and they continue on in a completely different way. There might be other people that need to put a little more work into it. So it may be some, real work with their own thoughts, of working in reminding themselves of this being, say this situation is no longer their truth anymore. And so we could include some journaling. So you see, there's maybe a different avenue that each person could take, because each one of us has our own stuff to work through, and so not
Got it.
all healing modalities or all practices are going to be exactly the same for each person, depending on what it is that they're releasing or working through.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of, like, I've heard, that your body doesn't know time. So like you can
Yes.
think of a scary incident from
Yes.
20 years ago and your
Yes.
heart will start racing and
Yes.
your, whatever glands will start sweating,
Yeah.
and you have the same like physical reaction to something that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So you kind of like do that, but then you are safe and you change perception. So maybe
Yes.
regulate your nervous system more in
Yes.
association with that event that happened in this life or several
Exactly.
lifetimes
And
ago.
that's
Yeah.
exactly it, because
Okay.
no, that would be the awareness of, okay, if something's triggered me, and let's say I do have this awareness, let's say I did some past life work, I know where it's come from, and yet I'm feeling triggered. Well, in that moment, it would be, first of all, maintaining some grounding, right? So it'd be like, I'm safe, I'm good, I'm safe. This is not the case. Like, there is nothing happening in this moment. So telling your body, telling the brain, everything, I'm safe and I'm okay, I'm not in danger. And then the next step would be to remind yourself of what is true. What is going on? What is the truth? And it's the continuation of those things. Because when we were talking, I think it was the last episode, we were talking about the neural pathways and creating those pathways. Well, healing is the same, because we may have had a pattern, or many patterns that we have consciously or unconsciously been doing our whole life. And, it may not be so easy as to just unleash that pattern into a new way and suddenly be okay with it. It may take a little work to then start to create new pathways. So there's the undoing, and then there's but what do I do with this energy? Or can I just be with this energy and ride it out and know that I'm safe, know that I'm okay?
Yeah.
Because that's another, Eric's just saying right now that that often when we feel something, our first run to is the resistance. So it's resisting the feeling. So I feel something that's not comfortable in me, and once we know that we're safe, can we just be okay being in that feeling and knowing that we are not that feeling and that it will pass? So we can logically know all of these things, but to be with ourselves. And he says this is where we learn how to give ourselves unconditional love, which means that what do I need to nurture myself in this moment of feeling this discomfort so that I can ride through this discomfort and know that I'm okay on the other end, that I'm going to be okay. And the more that you're able to sit with yourself, it changes the frequency around it. It changes how you relate around it. And that's truly healing, because you know that you've had healing when that event or an event like it triggers you again and you don't respond the same. Because it's not that life stops happening to you. You know, there's still things that happen, but when how you relate to a situation, how your body relates, you no longer have that fight or flight,
Yeah.
that emotional response. And that's a big sign of healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Makes sense?
That's really cool. So how are the ways you can do this? Like just through like a mediumship reading or like hypnosis or heard of like Q Q
QHHT?
yes.
Yes.
Are
Yes.
those some ways that you can do this? Or are there other
Definitely.
ways or
There are
okay.
multiple ways. You know, depending on your comfort level of
Okay.
what it is that you need. So if you feel confident in sitting down and doing meditation yourself and calling on your own spirit team, and whether it's through a guided meditation or however you do it, it's perfectly fine to do that if that's what you feel good in doing. But you can also do it using a medium's help. Past life regression is probably the best one to do. QHHT, which I've had both past life regression and QHHT myself, and it's fascinating. Listening to the recordings back after being in it is just amazing, you know, because it's
And explain for everything, past life regression and QHHT is a form of hypnosis, correct?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so QHHT was like going into other lifetimes and was also exploring beyond Earth and a much deeper
Wow.
level of meditation, or
Wow.
deeper level that you're in hypnosis. So it's quantum. That's what QHHT is. Quantum
Okay.
healing hypnosis.
Oh, technique, I think is the
yes,
T, right?
technique.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. So yes, those ways. And like this really does depend on what your need is, and do your research of, you know, what if a person is offering a service, you know, find out maybe from other people that have had work with them and find out what they experience, but do your research to make sure that what you're looking for is the right way. Yes, and Eric just says, or ask your spirit team and we'll help guide you to who it
To
is,
the right.
to the right person. So that's true
Yeah.
as well. But yeah, it's very interesting. So even if you're not specifically looking to release a pattern, you're just curious, you know, it's a really interesting, I say everybody should have an experience like that, to just open their minds into other places and other versions. I was always fascinated by it, so it was a lot of fun for me to do that.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like you just know yourself more afterwards. Like I
Yeah.
feel like every experience I've had has felt like me. Like that's why I know it's past life, because I'm like, oh, I'm seeing who I really resonate with. And I feel like I know myself more afterwards. So
Yeah.
yeah, highly recommend it.
Yeah. And
Very
you'll
cool.
always know that it's you, because when you hear a past life, it resonates. Like you should feel it.
Yes.
You know, there's something about it that will make sense. And so everything that's brought through, there'll be something there to connect you. And what I find is that spirit will always help you bring something forward for somebody, or bring something to you that makes sense. So they're going to show you a
Hmm.
lifetime that, you know, whether it's a lifetime you had with somebody else or the timing of it, there's usually a reason why you're being shown that. And it's always to help, you know, to help understand you deeper. to help understand maybe what the relationship is with family members, or, why is the dynamic this way? Like, why did we do it this way? Or was there another lifetime that we, maybe had this problem going on, or we had this type of relationship, and then in this lifetime, we're working it out. What exactly
Mm-hmm.
are we doing? So anyway, but we can get into more of that, maybe about karma and stuff like that in our next
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, I love that.
Anything else
Very
you'd like to
cool.
add?
No, that's it. I just want to see who this winner is.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Let's hope it doesn't freeze.
Okay.
Look at my lips. Oh, I didn't do it. Okay. I can't get it to shut off. I can't get it shut off, and it's got permanent pink lips, and I don't know how it came on.
Michelle has a filter. She can't figure out how to get off.
Yeah, just so
but you look very good. So I mean,
Thank
it's
you.
for the good.
I mean, I do have some pink stuff on my lips today, but it's very natural. It's not quite this bright. And every time I see, you can see the.
Oh, there, I saw it. Yep, there.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Here's our winner for the Akashic reading. Okay, we got one. Graceful indeed. Graceful indeed is our winner. So for graceful indeed, what does she need to do?
I say message Michelle.
Okay, yes. So message me. You can just go right on my website at thehealingheart.com, or of course my email, which is mlgray101975 @gmail.com. So all the information's here on the description.
And you can always message me too, makingofamedium@gmail.com.
Thank you.
But I feel like Michelle would know more. Either of us.
But all you need to do is graceful indeed, we need your name, your birth name, and then we'll give you the other details once we hear from you. So congratulations, and thank you.
Yes, I'm very excited for you.
That is very exciting. Thank you to everybody else for playing along. And Maren and I were saying we'll have some more stuff because we love the interactive stuff, and we'll have another different type of reading or something else come up in the future. So keep your eyes peeled, your ears peeled. But that's it. So I've been called in for surgery this week. So as you're all reading this, say a little prayer for my doctors as I go in to come out a new me. So I don't know, maybe didn't sound quite right, but we'll see.
Just that everything goes as planned. Yes.
And I'm sure it will. Yeah. So, all right. Well, guys, that's another Mentorship Monday, and we will see you next week.
Yep. See you next week. Thank you so much for listening.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.